Hello, my dear flawless audience. I'm glad you're back. I heartily welcome you all for yet another session. I presume we were dealing with on children. Let's start from where the text was halted. Before we get underway, I'd like to provide you with a quick recapitulation. In continuation from where we had left, well, in the previous session, the following points were discussed pertaining to on children. Description of the poet was provided. Background of the poem was dealt. Parenting styles were explained. Paraphrasing of the poem beginning from the line 1 to line 8 was done. So let us begin with the new set of lines. Here it says, "You may house their bodies, but not their souls." Well, one must understand that you here refers to the parents. Prophet Muhammad is explaining how the children should be reared, how the children should be helped to attain their dreams. You may house their bodies, but not their souls. This suggests that parents may provide shelter to their children's bodies, but not captivate their souls. House their bodies means the parents can provide their children proper shelter, but not captivate their souls. The following lines are, for the souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. The poet, through prophet, further continues saying that the souls of children belong to the future, which parents cannot even imagine visiting. Their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow means children's souls belong to the future, and the parents cannot even imagine visiting. Furthermore, the next set of lines suggest that the line goes as these: You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you. For life goes not backward, nor tarries with yesterday. Please make note, tarries meaning stopping. You may strive to be like them. The prophet suggests that the parents may strive, that is, they may try to understand their children's modern milieu. Modern milieu means modern surrounding, modern culture. The children's modern culture, the parents may try to understand, but they should not expect their children to be their replica, because time never comes to a standstill, as it is kinetic in nature. The only inevitable thing is change. So parents have to understand that they should not seek their children to be like them. They may try to be like their children, cope up with the changes that they see, but never ever enforce anything on the children. The following lines are quite metaphorical in nature. The lines are as these: You are the bows from which your children, as living arrows, are sent forth. The archer sees the mark upon the path of the infinite, and he bends you with his might, that his arrows may go swift and far. What beautiful lines! Please note, bows refer to parents, arrows refer to children, and archer refers to God. Here, the prophet is trying to tell that you being the bows, he is telling this to parents, that you being the bows from which your children as living arrows are sent forth. Arrows here refer to children. So the archer has set upon a path, a predominant path for every arrow to reach. The archer has set a goal. He needs the bow to help his arrows reach that particular goal. In that endeavor, he bends. He bends the bow with his might, and his arrows have to go swift and far. So he bends the bow, and thus he endeavors to send the arrow where he desires to. Further, he tells that the lines go as this: Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness. Well, he says that there is a struggle, no doubt. There is a struggle, but he tells it to the parents that during that particular testing time, he asks the parents to be positive enough, and one must be glad thinking that whatever struggle is happening is for the good of the thought, that is that the archer is having. So he requests the parents to stand these testing times with utmost positivity. Because he says in the following lines, For even as he loves the arrow that flies, so he loves also the bow that is stable. These lines suggest that God loves both the children and the parents equally, because we must understand that once upon a time a parent was a child. So every parent comes from this cycle wherein the parent was once upon a time a child, and God has loved that particular arrow, that is, that particular child, immensely. So, with this, we come to the end of the explanation of the poem On Children by Khalil Gibran. The poem is all about parenting styles. Let us have an overview of the poem. As you already have read, the prophet gives us the do's and don'ts us here means parents. He provides some do's and some don'ts. Let us see what exactly he has told in the poem. He says, parents must protect their children. And he says, parents must not have a sense of possession when it comes to their children. They should not possess them. Second do is, parents must give their children their love, an unconditional love. And he says, parents must not impose their thoughts. The third do that he mentions in the poem is, parents may provide their children with shelter, but parents must never shackle their children's souls, should not chain their children's souls. Next up, parents may strive to be like their children. They can do that. They try very hard. That is fine. But they should never expect their children to be like them. Finally, parents must possess a sacrificial attitude, is what the prophet demands from the parents. Sacrificial attitude here is nothing but when the archer bends you, be glad. He expects parents not to complain about the hardships that they undergo, because he claims that when they were children, their parents were put under test. So he asks the parents to be glad during those hardships. Well, I have a question that is borrowed from the textbook. I shall provide you with a specimen how to write a 4-mark answer for the provided question. Well, the question is, why does the prophet categorically state your children are not your children? Well, the answer for this has to be a paragraph somewhere between 80 to 100 words, having good set of words, good vocabulary, good linkers. The answer should be grammatically correct. Spelling errors should not be found. So all put to it, one can score 4 marks if you write correctly. So I shall provide you a specimen for this particular question. I shall read that for you. Make note, the linkers, as I mentioned, are italicized. Vocabulary, as far as vocabulary is concerned, verbs are highlighted in blue and adjectives are highlighted in red. This is an answer for the question, why does the prophet categorically state your children are not your children? The answer is, I shall read this. On Children orbits around the theme of parenting, in which the poet categorically states that the children don't belong to their parents completely, as they have their unimpeachable individuality. Further, he emphasizes the notion by mentioning that the parents are only the means for the children to come on the earth, while they belong entirely to the omnipotent Almighty. Moreover, the parents can shelter the children, but they do not encompass authority to possess them. In fact, they can give their unconditional love, but cannot impose their obsolete thoughts on their children. because they have their own thoughts and their benign souls dwell in the house of tomorrow. Hence, the prophet categorically states, your children are not your children. I hope you have understood the question, and I hope the answer provided is beneficial enough. Kindly take note of this particular answer that shall help you to prepare for a 4-mark question. There's an assignment which you need to submit in a day's time. The question goes as this: what do the metaphors bows, arrows, and archer signify with regard to parent children relationship? I hope you shall submit it in a day's time. Wish you all the best. Thank you for being so patient